Hi, everybody, and welcome to our video linking every question on the 2021 AP CSP practice exam back to a UTeach assignment. I am really excited to do this video for you because it's going to help you save time when you need to review for the multiple choice portion of the CSP exam. So let's get right into it. Now, first thing is you're going to want to get today's slide deck because it has all the information that I'm about to discuss. So please go to that bit.ly link right there, bit.ly/UTeach MapQuest, or just take a picture of the QR code. Now, we're going to start off by talking about, why I mapped every single question on that 2021 practice exam to a UTeach assignment. I'm then going to review how I would teach my students how to do the CSP exam, the multiple choice portion of it. And I always started with the computing innovation reading passage, not with question number 1. I'm then going to review our UTeach top 5-ish assignments, because it's actually 7 assignments, but the top 5, because if you just do these top 5 questions, you can prepare your students for like 40 questions on the exam. All right, and then I'm going to review each individual question mapped back to an assignment. So this is going to be a little bit of a lengthy video, but it's going to be really good information because it's going to prepare you to prepare your students the best possible way you can for the CSP exam. Okay, first off, let me just start off with some reminders. All right, you have until May 2nd to get in the AP CSP Create Performance task to the digital portfolio. It's okay if you submit early. I actually recommend you submit early. It seems like the digital portfolio always has technical issues right before May 2nd. So please get those create tasks in. And remember, this year, the multiple choice portion of the exam is on May 9th. It's going to be in school. It's not going to be virtual like it had been the last year because of COVID. So please remember that May 9th is the exam date. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we are going to review today the multiple choice portion of the exam. Now let's remember, it starts off with 57 multiple choice questions where your students only pick one answer. Then there is 5 single select questions about a reading passage. And this is where I recommend your students start the exam. And there's a couple reasons why I recommend this. Number 1, because these 5 questions seem to be 5 of the easier questions on the exam. You want to give your students a good start to the exam. So this is a good place to start. And also, it's a College Board requirement that you cover this information about a computing innovation. So that's why I always have my students start with these 5 questions. And then, of course, the last 8 questions on the exam are those really hard multiple choice questions. Those are the ones where they have to choose not one answer, but 2 answers for each multiple choice question. So that's the breakdown of the multiple choice portion of the exam, in case you're not familiar with it. All right, now, everything I'm going to talk about today is from the AP classroom. All right, I'm going to be using the 2021 practice exam, and I'll show you how to get to this exam in a moment because we're going to jump out of my slide deck and into the AP classroom and into Codio. All right, so the practice exam that we're using can be found in the AP classroom. Now, in the AP classroom, and you can see I just hopped into the AP classroom, let me show you where you can find this practice exam. All right, in the AP classroom, on the left-hand side of the screen here, you'll notice that they have My Assignments. And if you click on Unassigned Assignments, and then click on Practice Exam, College Board provides you with 3 practice exams to do with your students. Now, this is important because in CSA, they don't put out a practice exam every single year. So there's no guarantees in CSP that they'll put out a practice exam next year. So this video is going to be good for next year as well. And we're going to focus on the 2021 practice exam because that's the most recent one. So every single time I talk about, well, we mapped back this question to a UTeach assignment, these are where these questions are coming from. They're coming from the 2021 practice exam. So we are mapping back all of these questions back to Codio, okay? Because in Codio is where all of our assignments are. Now, just to give you a heads up, remember, you can print our assignments if you want to. So you're about to learn that Unit 6, actually, if you do all of Unit 6, you can cover like over 25 questions on the multiple choice part. So you can actually, if you want to, print out our Unit 6 so that you can give your students like a resource to look at while doing the questions. And in order to do that, just remember, we have an export button over here on the screen. And if we click on the export over here where it says course content export, you can then select to just print out any one of our assignments, student view only, as a PDF. So I can come over here to Unit 6. I can say, well, I don't need to give them the overview, that, or the unit projects. I'm not doing that. I can get rid of these survey things and the unit test and the unit review. And now I can actually export this either as individual assignments or one long PDF. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'll get an email from Codio that says, hey, you exported this. And now I can just print this out and give it to my students, kind of like, as I said, as a resource to help them with the questions for Unit 6. So that's one way that you can use Codio to prepare, all right, for the exam. You can print it out, but most of your students have access to Codio, so they can just go in and do these assignments. All right, now, this slide deck is going to be really important for a couple of reasons, okay? And I'm about to show you the big page, and that is the big map, all right? And this is good for two reasons. First of all, some of you don't have enough time to do Units 4, 5, and 6. I always recommend when I'm in my PDs training teachers that you should do Units 1, 2, and 3 and the Python Bootcamp, and then do the Create Performance task. And then I always say, then do Unit 6 and work your way backwards based on how much time you have. But now I'm going to give you more details. So let's take a look. I have mapped every single one of the questions back to an assignment. And when I did that, here's the data that I learned. Okay, assignments 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4. These three assignments are actually College Board requirements. That's the reading passage I was talking about that I want you to start your students on for the real exam. And the reason is that these three assignments not only prepare them for the 5 questions for that reading passage, but 3 more on the exam. So think about that. If you do these 3 assignments, you are preparing your students for 8 questions on the exam. Now, you can also see up here that assignments 6.11 and 6.6 are also heavily tested on the exam. 6.11 is our cybersecurity assignment. We're going to review all these in a minute. 7 questions, okay? Assignment 6.6 is our internet assignment. 5 questions on the practice exam. So take a look. I mean, that's crazy. If you just do those assignments, okay, 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, 6.11, and 6.6, you'll prepare your students for 20 questions on the multiple choice portion. There's only 70 questions total. That's a huge chunk, all right? So this is the raw data. And the reason I broke this down for you like this is because I want you to be able to use this to facilitate however you want, okay? You'll see here, these are the assignments that have multiple questions linked to them, all right? And then these are the assignments that only have 1 question linked to them. And then that's it. I mean, I believe there's something like 40 assignments here. If you do these 40 assignments, you would be preparing your students for the multiple choice portion of the exam. All right, so let's just take away what I learned from this that I want to share with you. All right, and here's what I learned. Unit 6 covers 25 questions. So before you do Unit 4 or Unit 5, I want you to do Unit 6. And there's the breakdown right there, okay? This is the PDF I just exported to my email that I was going to share with my students. You can review 25 questions by just doing those assignments in our curriculum. I mean, I know some of you use our curriculum and then some of you use a mishmash of curriculums. Well, dude, get your students into Codio just to review for the exam if they're not already in there. So you can be using our assignments to review for the exam along with the AP classroom. So right here, you can see 25 questions. Now, The other thing I wanted to point out was, I always say Unit 4 is the least tested on the exam, and it holds up. There's just 3 assignments, 4.4, 4.6, and 4.8, that are even tested. And each one of those is only 1 question. So especially if you're teaching on the East Coast in like New York and you don't start teaching until Labor Day and you still have to take this exam on May 9th and you have a month less of instructional time than other teachers across the country, yeah, like you can feel confident now that if you don't cover Unit 4, you know, that's 3 questions on the whole out of 70 on the whole multiple choice portion. All right. And the other thing I want to point out is, there are 11 questions that I link back to Python bootcamp assignments. Now, just because I'm linking it back to a Python bootcamp assignment does not mean you have to do the Python bootcamp to give the kids a chance to at least answer the question. Notice what I wrote. Students who complete the bootcamp are better prepared for these 11 questions on the exam. So these 11 questions that I link back to the Python bootcamp, the reason I'm doing that is because usually it's a pseudocode question or it's an algorithm question, but it's dealing with text. Now, you'll see I'm going to review assignment 1.7 with you in a couple minutes. If they just know pseudocode and then do Unit 2 in Scratch, they will be somewhat prepared to answer these questions. But if you really want to give them the best chance to answer these questions, then if you have time, complete the Python bootcamp. But if you don't have time, I'm not saying your students will definitely get all these incorrect. That is not true. Okay, so now, like I was saying, I want you to start, okay, when you review with assignments 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4. They are College Board requirements, okay? And on top of that, 5 of 70 questions is 7% of the test. Now, I told you that these 3 assignments will actually be tested 8 times. Okay, so that's important. Now you'll find these questions because you'll see them in the practice exam. They have these little bars linking them together, and that's the reading passage. Now, the reading passage is about a computing innovation. On the practice exam, it's about a fitness track app called Run Router. All right, and these questions are pretty, you know, like I call them real world issues for your students because they kind of deal with security, with data, with privacy, with apps all the time. So that's what these assignments are going to prepare them for. All right, so now let's take a look. So here is assignment 6.2 in our curriculum. All right, and in this one, we start off by talking about a computing innovation. And then it has a nice chart here about what is a computing innovation and a non-computing innovation. Now, computing innovation is really simple. It's something that has a program integral to the functioning of its, you know, in order for it to function properly, a program. So like, I always like to use an example like satellite radio. Is satellite radio a computing innovation? Of course it is. My Sirius XM radio can't work without a program. But is a regular radio a computing innovation? No, because all I need for a radio to work is like a couple of vacuum tubes, a piece of wire, and a dial, and I can pick up radio frequencies. So that's what this assignment is doing. All right, and then it goes into investigating computing innovations. Now, assignment 6.3 talks about data. What happens when apps store your data? All right, and then 6.4 ends up talking about the beneficial and harmful effects. Now, this is also going to be tested in the create performance task. Remember, they need to talk about like beneficial and harmful effects of things. So this is where College Board provides content for us to provide onto you. We didn't write this content. This is actually College Board written. We just package it up in Codio and make it as interesting as possible. But that's what we're doing here. Beneficial and harmful effects. All right. And more importantly, this page right here, creators and collaboration. They like to test this on the exam because what they're really talking about is how through collaboration, we reduce algorithmic bias, right? If you have a diverse group of people to collaborate with when you're coding and when you're working on projects, well, that means there's less of a chance of algorithmic bias because more people from diverse backgrounds are in on the developmental process. So that's why these 3 assignments, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4, I want you to do them. They're going to be tested on 8 different questions on the exam. All right. So just please keep that in mind. These are important assignments. So these are the questions on the exam that are going to test that. Okay, now I already showed you that questions 58 through 62 are ones that are going to be tested. But let's just quickly take a look at question 13, 27, and 36. So I can show you what I mean, why I mapped it back. All right, question 13 is actually talking about the benefits of collaborating through a computing innovation. All right, that's exactly what I showed you in assignment 6.4. So this is why it's important to review those assignments. They're going to be tested in multiple places, not just on the 5 reading passage questions. All right, so that's question 13. Quickly, let's take a look at 27 and 36. Okay, 27, right over here, we're talking about an algorithm. Okay, and what do you do with people's data? Okay, this is a data question. And then 36, once again, personal information from the internet. So this is 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4. It'll prepare you, those 3 assignments, to do all of these questions on the practice exam. So that's a good start. That's why I want you to start by reviewing those 3 assignments. And these are what they will prepare you to do. Now, the next important assignment for you to review is going to be our cybersecurity assignment. Now take a look. Questions 1, 6, 21, 32, 43, 48, 50, all of these are going to be for the cybersecurity. All right, now our cybersecurity assignment is really in depth, okay? We start off by talking about asymmetric encryption and symmetric encryption. There's a video on it right here. That's going to be tested. Okay, we talk about public key encryption. All right, and we even provide the students with questions built into these assignments. So it's actually preparing them for the exam without even using the AP Classroom. We're going to talk about multi-factor authentication. All right, we have a video about it over here. The next page of the assignment talks about malware, viruses. Phishing has its own question. Keylogging has its own question. Rogue access point has its own question. These are all individual questions on the exam. And then the investigate page over here, it's a really good assignment to do with your students to prepare them for what they just learned and they're about to be tested on. So you'll notice on the exam that question 1 and 6 right off the bat are tested with assignment 6.11. And yet they kick it off right away. What is a phishing attack? Okay, a phishing attack we covered in our page over here. Okay, when we talked about the terms. So you need to understand that College Board is really specific. Now, personally, I think it's ridiculous that College Board emphasizes cybersecurity and the internet this much when the whole entire course has been about like getting the kids to program and learn about all these different aspects of CS. And then they go so heavy into like networking and things like that. But, you know, we just want to prepare the students the best that we can based on the information we're given. All right, so that's how question 1 is about phishing. Question 6, multi-factor authentication. I just told you about that and showed you that in the assignment. 21 and 32. Okay, 21. This one over here is talking about video counts, okay? What's the most likely reason for this error? And this is getting back, this one right over here, to a cybersecurity issue. All right, so I just, I don't want to go through every individual assignment, but all of these are going to work their way back, 32, 43, and you guys can look through these on your own time, okay? Encryption, public key. All right, so these are all different questions. I thought it was 42. Sorry, it was actually 43. 43, how keylogging is used. So keylogging, I told you right over here, along with phishing. So you must do assignment 6.11 with your students. It's going to prepare them for 7 questions on the exam. So in all fairness, this is the most tested individual assignment. 6.11, there's 7 attached to it. I like to say, though, that the other three, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4, they're a package deal. So they actually prepare your students for 8. And I understand some of you are not going to have time to do all of Unit 6. So if you can only do a few assignments in Unit 6, the other one that I recommend you must do is 6.6. And the reason is because that talks about the internet. And this internet assignment talks about redundancy, fault tolerance, scalability. That's very similar to the cybersecurity. All 3 of those terms have its own question on the exam. All right. Now they talk a lot about bandwidth and client server model. And, once again, this gets back to, really testing the kids on things. So this right over here, browser, web page, packet, domain name, server, this is all heavily tested. All right. And we just prepare your students right over here. This is the only place we discuss it in the whole course. All right. But that's why you need to do it. It's not like it's in other places. It's only in this assignment. And 6.6 and 6.11, they overlap. So a lot of times when we talk about cybersecurity, we're talking about 6.6, the internet as well. So this over here is a Parsons problem where they put this in the order of how the internet flows. And then this is just vocabulary. And both of these are heavily tested. All right. And let's just take a look. So question 8 and 17, let's just take a look at those 2 questions. Question 8 talks about redundancy. Okay. Question 17 over here. And question 18, they're linked together. All right. So both of these are talking about networking information, how that works. That's all being tested in this question right over here. If your students can put that in order, then they'll be fine to do these questions in the AP classroom. All right, and the other one was 20 and 30. Okay, 20, talking about bandwidth. All right, and then question number 30, okay, how the data is transmitted on the internet. Is it packets? How these packets transmitted? Once again, if they can organize this and put this in the correct order, they can do those questions. So literally, this internet in action Parsons puzzle will prepare your students for 3 questions on the exam. Just this one piece right here. So 6.6 overall, 5 questions. All right. If you can only get to these over here, those are 20 questions you will prepare your students for. All right. Now, the other 2 assignments I really just want to highlight before I just show you how to use the rest of this slide deck for your own facilitation purposes is assignment 3.3 and 1.7. Now, 3.3 is important. That's right, it's back. Binary to decimal conversions and back again, decimal to binary. All right, now, if you were in my workshop, we did this in PD and it was important. We did it in PD for a reason, because your students are going to be tested on it. All right, and if you can do this assignment, one assignment, boom, 5 questions. All right, now the good news is that they just need to be able to do binary to decimal. They used to have to do hexadecimal. They don't have to. Now the bad news, they make the questions kind of not confusing, but time consuming. And your students don't have a lot of time to do this. 90 seconds. That's how long they have to answer each question if they want to get through 70 questions in 90 minutes. Okay, so let's take a look. Your students do this, now they know how to convert. What are the questions like? So let's take a look at questions 10 and 11, because those are binary good examples, okay? So it's not just gonna say, hey, what is 24 written in binary form? It's gonna ask it like this, okay? And it says, what is the decimal value for jump control? So your students actually will have to go up here, go to jump, go, okay, here's what it is, and now convert that, and then pick that as the correct answer. Now, if your students wanted to, they can go work backwards. They can convert 3, 12, 24, and 48 into binary and see which one matches the jump binary. All right, but once again, it's going to be hard to do that in 90 seconds unless they're really good at doing their conversion. Now, number 11, similar. Now it's going to say what control is represented by 15. So here the students will have to turn 15 into binary and then see which one it is, and then which one's the correct answer. Now, remember, in the AP Classroom, all you have to do is click over here, and it'll show you the correct answer and give you the rationale. So notice, I'm not sitting here telling you what the answer is because that's not important for you. AP Classroom will tell you the answer. AP Classroom will tell you what the correct answer is and why. I'm here to tell you what assignment to do to prepare your students to do this question. And to be frank with you, that is a lot more important. And I made up an 88 slide deck, Google slide for you to use. So I saved you a lot of time. You're welcome. All right, so let's continue. 31 and 39. All right, we take a look at it. Here's 31. All right, once again, a binary number is transformed by appending 3 zeros to the end of the number. So it goes from this to this. So your students would first have to make this into a decimal number, this into a decimal number, and then how did I get from here to here? So, you know, it might be that they multiply by 3, it might be that they divide by 2, whatever it is. So once again, it's just time consuming. It's not like the question is any more difficult, but yeah, it's just gonna be more time consuming for your students to get through it. Okay, so that was question number 31. 39 and 52 are gonna be very similar. So I'm just gonna do 39. All right, you'll see it here. We're storing a binary number, all right, between 75 and 100, okay? So they're talking about binary sequences. We're talking about how many sequences is there. Same thing, it's gonna be reviewed in assignment 3.3. All right, let's just move on because I don't wanna take up too much time, but question 52 also is tested there. Now, the last assignment your students really need to know is assignment 1.7. Now, it only says it prepares here for 4 questions. That's not true. Honestly, they love to test pseudocode in way more than just 4 questions. But after a while, when I was mapping these back, I would have to ask myself, is it more important that students know how to use this document, which is going to be provided to them, so they can use it as a reference? It's just going to be given to them. They just have to be able to understand how to use it. They don't have to memorize anything on it. They don't have to memorize anything on this document. I'll say it twice. So after a while, I was like, all right, this might be a pseudocode question, but it's more important for the students to understand abstraction or procedures or list. And that's why I linked it back to a different assignment. But just in the beginning, question 3 and 5, okay? Question 3 and 5 are going to be pseudocode questions. And that's what they look like, okay? And your students are going to have to be able to go over here and look at what does this mean, okay? And it says A with the arrow and expression, evaluates an expression and then assigns a copy of the result to whatever this variable A is. So that's how that would work. And now your students would then have to say, okay, so then that means we're taking 100 and we're going to map it to first, and we're taking 200, we're going to map it to second. So then this 100, which is first, is now going to be mapped to temp. And then temp is then going to be mapped to second. All right, and then so forth and so forth. And then it's going to tell them what the correct answer is. But in order to be able to do this question, okay, they're going to have to know how to use this reference sheet. So that's why for question number 1, I'm sorry, for the first question there, question 3, I map it back to this assignment. Okay, and the same thing for question number 5. Okay, question 5 is using the pseudocode again. Okay, and it's using the block-based version of the pseudocode again. Okay, so your students would have to go over here, read what this means, and then figure out the question. Now, doing this in 90 seconds is really, really hard. So that's why you want to give your students pseudocode practice questions so they know how to use it. So your student would actually look at this and say, oh, we're talking about repeat. I already know how repeat works, so I don't even have to look at this. All right, I know that we're talking about repeating. We start with the most inner thing and then work our way out. So that's how your students have to be prepared. That's how quickly they have to notice pseudocode. And these questions are directly linked to pseudocode. All right, so that is the top 5-ish assignments, like I said in the beginning. Now, the rest of this slide deck, I am not going to review. I'm going to explain how to use it. I have gone question by question on this practice exam, this 2021 practice exam. And I have linked it back to the assignment that will prepare your students best to do it. Now, listen, there are some assignments that you would need to do like 3 of our assignments. So like, please, this isn't gospel. I'm doing the best I can to save you time. But this is the one primary assignment that if you do it, I really do feel 100% your students have a chance to get the right answer. Okay. So question 2, because we already did question 1. All right, question 1, I already told you, is linked to our assignment 6.11. Now, what I do in the screen capture here is I take a screenshot of exactly where in the assignment you need to review. So question 1 is a phishing attack. Here is where in assignment 6.11 you need to look. And that's how this whole entire rest of this slide deck is going to work. Okay, so the rest of the slide deck will work that way. Okay, question 1, links back there. Now question 2. Question 2 is a selection statement, all right? And we review these selection statements, and it's specifically talking about Booleans right here in assignment 2.9. We talk about Boolean expressions and then your relational operators, all right? So that is how I want you to use the rest of this slide deck, okay? I went through every single question, linking it back, okay? So that is what a majority of this slide deck is. That is why you need to download it. That is how you're going to use this information to facilitate to your class. All right. So let's wrap up here with our big takeaways one last time. All right. Our big takeaways one last time is do Unit 6 before you do Unit 5 and Unit 4. We have data to back that up. All right. Unit 4 is only tested on 3 questions. Unit 6 covers 25. Okay, 25 questions, 3 questions, easy decision. Remember, Python Bootcamp, not required, all right? It'll better prepare your students for these following 11 questions. But like I said, some of these are just like, you know, for example, a list assignment. Well, you do list in Scratch. And since it's pseudocode, your students will be able to use the pseudocode to read what the list text means. So once again, it's just to better prepare them, all right? And here is our breakdown. Okay, what is the most heavily asked? A couple of highlights I just want to call out here that I didn't review. All right, you're going to cover units 1, 2, and 3 just by teaching them programming in Scratch, right? So just by doing those assignments, you know, you got 5, 10, 18, and I'm just doing this 20 off the top of my head, 21, 22, 20. So just by teaching them programming, you're preparing them for over a third of the exam. So think about what I just said. If you do units 1, 2, and 3 with your students, then organically you have trained them to do 23 questions. Do unit 6 with them. It's 25 more questions. You're now up to 48 questions that you're preparing them for out of 70. And then you could like cherry pick from here. All right. Well, yeah, I'm just going to now do, you know, assignment 5.11 and assignment 5.5. So you can use this information however you want. This is here for you to best facilitate how you want to do this. You know, you can make up AP classroom quizzes. You could take all 8 of the questions for assignments 6.2 through 6.4, make them a separate quiz for your students, and then give them just a PDF printout of 6.2 through 6.4 and let them use that. So I don't like to tell you how to facilitate. I just like to give you suggestions, but a lot of opportunities here, how to use this slide deck. So if you have any questions about what you just saw, if you have any questions about anything, you know this, you can reach out to me. You just click on support on the left-hand side of your Codio platform, click on one-on-one, click on curriculum, schedule a quick meeting with me. But if not, you can always use any of the methods you see there. We have a lot of opportunities for funding for the following school year. Please go to uteachcs.org to learn about them. And if for some reason you did not get this slide deck yet, please go to that bit.ly link, bit.ly/UTeachMapQuest, or take a picture of the QR code. All right, this has been a really helpful video. It's been my pleasure to make it for you. Please use it and let other people know about it as well. Thank you. Good luck.